Welcome back to Unapologetically Visible, the podcast for high achieving Latina and women of color founders who are done being the best kept secret. I'm your host, Christina Olivarez, award winning visibility and leadership coach, TEDx speaker, and founder and CEO of the Social Butterfly Gal and Hustle and Socialize. Happy Gratitude Day! Woo! What a year! My goodness, this year, this season has stretched me in so many ways that I could never fully imagine. This is the year that I hit the big 10 years in business. A whole freaking decade, y'all. But also, this was the year that I just made some really, really big decisions around motherhood and taking care of myself and my fertility. If you are listening to this episode on Thanksgiving break, Thanksgiving Day, you would know that I am in recovery mode right now. I am recovering from my laparoscopic robotic myonectomy, and this is the official 2-week mark post-op on Thanksgiving Day and Thanksgiving weekend. And so I'm just full of gratitude right now, hopefully on the other side. But also this year, I just had a lot. I was dealing with a lot professionally and personally, and I had so many emotional and mental breakdowns, so many like off camera moments where so many people would not even believe half of the stuff that I was going through, that I persevered. I think that's what ultimately is so beautiful about who I am at my core, is that a lot of the things that I do, I really operate from never giving up and really pushing through, but also like hitting that big wall of how do I push through while also understanding that first and foremost, I need to take care of myself. This was the year that I released so many versions of myself, which I think is super funny because my word for 2025 was expansion. And I was thinking like at the beginning of the year that expansion meant like going big and, big revenue and big conference and big things. And like my whole entire year was so not that. But it was expansion in ways that I never even thought was expansion. And so many versions of myself. I really do believe that from the time that I started my company at 24 to who I am now at 34, I fully feel expanded now in a different version and a different light. But most importantly, this was the year that I also started this podcast. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, for downloading, for sharing, for reviewing. I mean, I had put off this podcast so many years. I had been a guest on other people's podcasts, and everyone would always come up to me and be like, when are you going to start your own podcast? And I think it was just out of fear. I didn't want to even just like do it. But I knew that not only do I need to be a guest on other people's podcasts, but my voice matters, and the ability to be able to start and launch this podcast and be on episode 17. I've been doing this for 17 weeks. Is beyond my wildest dreams. This year has tested me in so many ways. There have been many days and nights where I laid in bed wondering if I should continue as an entrepreneur, if entrepreneurship is still meant for me now, 10 years later. So many of us were dealing with such a hard year economically, politically, socially. It was just so much. And there were so many nights just wondering, what am I doing? Is this still meant for me? Like I said, I started my business at 24, right? And here I am at 34. And so many things have changed in my life. And many of the dreams I've actually accomplished. And now the dream kind of looks different now, thinking about the next decade in business. There was a lot of nights where I was crying and then would show up on camera like nothing. There was many days and nights wondering, why is this all happening to me? How can I get out of this difficult and tough season financially? So many of that. Wondering, when will it get better? And every morning was a gift. I fully believe that I am here for a purpose and a reason. And every single morning that I get to wake up and do what I love to do every day, even though it is hard, it is such a gift. Each morning when I meditate, I always have some type of meditation. And then I go into what I like to call my gratitude process. And this is where I start asking myself, how can I be grateful right now, exactly where I am? And I would see messages like the universe was always sending me signs and messages that I am exactly where I need to be in this moment. And sometimes it was so hard to believe in that because I would be like, oh, I should be here. I should be doing this. I should be making this amount of money. Why don't I have this? Why does that person have that? They're succeeding, all the things. And every single time the universe would just show me a sign that I am meant to be right where I am. I am right where I need to be. And that's where I want to start this really special episode, this important conversation. Whenever you're listening to it, it could be on Thanksgiving morning, or it could be on Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, even the weeks leading up to it. I want to start today with this conversation about gratitude and the truth of what it means to find gratitude in that messy middle. No matter what journey you are on, personally, professionally, there is going to be so many seasons where you might be in between. The seasons that are meant to stretch you beyond measure. And I know for somebody like me, I'm always like, why? Why do I have to learn the lesson? Why is this year filled with lessons? Why can't I just bask in the joy? But that's the thing, is that suffering and sadness can coexist with joy and fulfillment. And there are seasons where you are going to be wondering, why in the fuck is this happening? But that's where you got to find the gratitude. Because we talk about gratitude a lot, especially around the holidays. We always see our family members and we say, we're grateful for you, or we're grateful to have, so many things that we have right now. But nobody tells you how hard it is to be grateful when you're still waiting for things to work out. Nobody tells you how hard it's going to be when you are experiencing loss, or when you are trying to find ways to get yourself to your next phase of life, when you're carrying the weight of the dreams that haven't landed yet, when you've been faithful and obedient and consistent, and it still feels like you're walking through that fog. So today, I want to walk you through what I've learned about gratitude, in particularly this year, not the cute version that fits on an Instagram caption or a post, but the grounded and sometimes gritty, sometimes quiet gratitude that has carried me through 10 years of entrepreneurship, my leadership, and my becoming into the woman that I'm becoming, into the future mom I'm becoming, and all of the different facets of Christina that is the now. It's wild how success and grief can live in the same room. You can be beasting it on the outside and doing all the things on Instagram where everyone tells you, holy moly, you're killing it, you're doing amazing, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes on the inside, you can feel really isolated and exhausted. And entrepreneurship is a really lonely journey. If you don't have not just community, that's a surface level thing that we talk about, community and having a village. You can have all those things and still feel fucking lonely. Knowing that you have to shed layers of versions of yourself that cannot come with you to the next era is probably the most lonely thing that entrepreneurship could really teach you about yourself. I always feel like if you want a really crash course and deep dive into personal development, you're going to find it in entrepreneurship. It's the ups and downs of the journey. You might be winning in one area of your life and losing in another. Shonda Rhimes always liked to say that about her journey, and that is the truth. This year, I've had many, many ups and downs, whether it was my fertility, making the decision to have surgery, financial hardships, still navigating Pete's layoff that happened 2 years ago that we're still feeling the effects 2 years later. those things we don't really talk about. Just navigating business struggle. Not every single year is going to be an up year. I think so many people think that entrepreneurship is linear and all the success you're going to find is, once you hit a certain threshold, you're not going to have dips in your cash flow or you're not going to experience hardship. And that is a bold lie. We are always going to have struggles. We're always going to have successes and wins, and you're going to have those unexpected moments. And that's where the gratitude really gets real for me, because I realized this year that gratitude isn't about being thankful after things make sense. It's not finding gratitude when you're winning. It's choosing to believe that even in the confusion, in the messy middle, that there's purpose. And that is super hard to understand, and also very, very, very uncomfortable. For many months, gratitude for me looked like the really small things. I would keep a note in my notes app about abundance. And this had to deal with not really financial abundance, but just little things that would happen throughout the day or throughout the weeks that showed me that the universe always has my back. And some of those things could be like, family deciding to cook a meal. So you would get, a free meal. That would look like anytime the universe would send me an unexpected payment, or a client would just pop into my DMs at a really, really needed time of my life when bills were due and I didn't know how I was going to pay or be able to afford my team. It looked like just paying one invoice at a time and getting through debt and being able to pay off a vendor and feeling the gratitude for the abundance that would come into my life at the right time. It would look like somebody paying for my coffee and finding gratitude that they're still in this crazy world, that there are still really, really, really kind human beings in this world. It looked like getting quiet and letting my nervous system calm down and getting really centered and trying to listen to my voice. The gratitude that I have for being able to be still in moments of chaos. The gratitude that I have for my family and having the freedom and flexibility to go home and visit and travel to the Rio Grande Valley to be with my parents who are aging. It looked like sometimes, yes, crying in the car, still whispering, "Thank you, God. I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you." You see, gratitude became less about what's working and more about what is this year doing to me that is forming the next version of who I need to become. And maybe that's what this year has looked like for you. And maybe that's what this year has been teaching me, that sometimes the only thing you can be grateful for is the fact that, yes, you're still standing, you're still waking up, you're still doing what you love doing. You have a purpose and a gift. And most importantly, you are still becoming. And I'm getting very, very emotional right now. And it is just because I am so grateful that I get to wake up every day and coach women like you and speak on stages and have the ability to live out my purpose, doing the things that I never thought was possible as a 24-year-old. And you know what I've realized? That sometimes gratitude doesn't feel peaceful. Sometimes it really feels like surrendering, which this year I had to surrender so much. I had so much fear around what would happen if I become a mom and what's going to happen to my business. It looked like fear around, could I be able to afford this damn conference? Which in my gut, I knew that as much as I wanted to elevate, I wasn't ready just yet. Sometimes gratitude felt like unclenching my fist after fighting so long to control everything. It's in that moment that you look around and you realize that, yeah, the dream might not look the way that I planned and envisioned in my head, but I'm surrounded by everything I once prayed for. It's the way that the light hits the windows here at my co-working space as I get to wake up really early and sometimes come to this co-working space very, very early, and I'm journaling and I'm watching downtown and how just fortunate I feel to be able to work and live in this area, in this beautiful city, in this downtown space. It's watching my body heal after years of survival and burnout and whispering thank you for what it's carried. The ability and the gratitude that I have for movement. As I was preparing for my surgery, I started to up the amount of times that I would work out. And every time that I would work out, I just knew that it was such a privilege to be able to move my body, to be able to lift weights, and to put my body into extraordinary measures. The ability to have movement and the ability to have an able body is one that I don't take for granted. It's in hearing my own voice, being so steady and grounded and confident after many, many years trying to get myself to sound like that. It's the gratitude I have for Hustle and Socialize that year when I was really working so freaking hard to sell those tickets and to push past the fear of selling and being able to say, this is what it is, this is the price, and this is why you need to work with me, especially in coaching. It's the gratitude that I have for surviving 10 years in business. Not just one, not just two, not three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. A whole decade in business. When I first started, I could never even envision 10 years of growing and learning and breaking and rebuilding and pivoting. I am the queen of pivoting. You don't even know how many times I've had to pivot. And so on this day of gratitude, on this day of giving thanks for what we have, I wanted to share 10 things that I am deeply grateful for in this decade of my becoming and what is coming next for Social Butterfly Gal and Hustle and Socialize. So number one, I'm so grateful for that younger version of me who started anyway. I did not have a plan. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I just knew I had a vision and I had an access to a blog and I had access to WordPress and I was going to start a blog. That's all I knew. I didn't have it figured out. I was super scared and just kind of also hopeful. That version of me, that younger version, that 24-year-old Christina, just taught me so much that obedience is often the first step towards alignment. That not knowing where this is going to lead is also the most beautiful gift that you could ever have. That you don't need to have everything perfect in order to start. You just need to have ganas, as I always love to say. You just need to have that consistency and that willing to continue, to keep going and to keep doing all the things when life gets rough. Because I can guarantee you there's so many women that I've talked to that after one little time that they have to pivot, they would quit. And so I'm just grateful for that younger version of me. I'm grateful for every season that forced me to slow down. Right now in this season that I'm in, this is probably the first time that I've had to physically slow down. Like the ability to train my brain to understand what it's like to walk from the living room couch to the toilet. What a gift that is. I'm grateful for all the times that God said, girl, you need a rest, and putting things in my pathway to force me to rest. Because rest doesn't mean that I have failed. It's just knowing that I needed to protect my peace. I'm super grateful for the women who have believed in me when I forgot who I was. So many women throughout the decade of my business, they were clients, friends, mentors, internet besties, people who saw something sacred in me before I even could name it. I'm so grateful for that community. That ability to have people in my corner is something that I'm just absolutely so grateful for. I'm grateful for all of the failures that have redirected me and the launches that flopped. Every single time I thought that deals wouldn't close, they all were exits from rooms that I was not meant to be in anymore, that I wasn't meant to build in anymore. I'm so grateful for the no's. The no is how I started entrepreneurship, and the no's are the things that have sustained me in entrepreneurship. I'm grateful for my own voice because no matter what season I am in, my voice has always found a way for me to live out my truth and to speak it out loud and not being afraid to speak what is on my mind, especially for the voices of marginalized communities that do not have the ability to be able to speak. Even when I felt small, when I wanted to disappear, when I was nervous about speaking up, I am so grateful for that voice. I'm grateful for my marriage. Oh my goodness. Pete and I are celebrating 8 years of marriage on December 2nd, which is next week. And I am just so grateful. We've been together for 14 years. I'm just so, so grateful for my marriage, my partnership, my friendship. For Pete as a husband who sees all of me, the friend, the CEO, the woman, the future baby mama that he'll have, everything that holds both all of these things, the complexities of who Christina is, the ability for me to just have a beautiful partner that shows up for every single hustle and socialize, who listens deeply, who can call me out on my bullshit, and who also just has tremendous respect. I respect Pete so much, and I'm just so grateful for my marriage. I'm grateful for my body, for the healing that it's doing right now, for everything that it has done to get me through this season that I'm in, for the way that it is teaching me that strength doesn't always look like pushing, but it's often about listening to your body, listening to when you need to slow down and fueling it in beautiful ways possible. I'm grateful for my culture, for being a Latina from the South Texas border. Being a border girl is something that I hold so powerfully. And I'm just so grateful for the Latina woman that I am, that's building wealth, that's changing generational cycles, and the joy, living in that joy on her own terms. So many women in my lineage would never had those opportunities to be able to do that. And here I am showing other women that it is possible, that you can build the life of your dreams, that you could go for it no matter the circumstance. I'm grateful for all of those quiet seasons that no one saw. The seasons where I've stayed late at night, crying, wondering if I could still do this. For the ones where I was planting seeds in the dark that actually came to fruition, and trusting that even though I wasn't seeing the fruits of my labor, that everything that I was doing was still growing in many ways, shapes, or form. And most importantly, I am grateful for God's grace, because every time I thought this was over, He always said, I'm not done yet. So here's what I want to leave you on this day of gratitude. Gratitude is not a personality trait. It's a daily practice. It's how you remind your nervous system that you are safe to receive. It's how you teach your heart to rest while you wait. And I know some of you are listening right now. Maybe this year hasn't gone the way that you expected. Maybe you have lost money. You've lost clarity. You are really tired of holding it all together. You've experienced loss or triumphs. Maybe this year has been very, very heavy, just like for so many of us. I can tell you this, while gratitude will not erase the pain, it will remind you of your purpose. And when you feel yourself spiraling into what is next, come back to this question. What can I thank God and the universe for right now in my life? Because sometimes gratitude isn't loud. It's not a roar. It's a whisper that says, I trust that I'm still being led. So take this week, if you're spending it with your loved ones and your family, and practice seeing those glimmers in your business, in your family, and most importantly, in yourself. You are already standing in many answered prayers. Don't rush past them looking for the next one. In closing, I want to say on this day of gratitude, may your table be full, may your heart be fuller, may you see yourself with softer eyes, and may you remember how far you've come. And give thanks for that woman who keeps showing up when no one is clapping. I see you. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm so grateful you are here. I'm so grateful that you are in my ecosystem. You are in my orbit. Gratitude doesn't skip over the hard parts. It sits in them and it looks you in the eye and says, even this. So if you're listening to this while you're cooking or driving, I want you to pause for a second. And in this exact moment, what is one thing you can thank God and the universe for? Not because it's perfect, but because it's everything that you've ever asked for. If you resonated with this episode, here's what I want you to do next. Subscribe and leave a review because that helps this podcast reach more women like us, women who were never meant to stay hidden, women who are meant to be highly visible leaders. Share this episode with someone you love who is needing to find the glimmers and wondering how to find gratitude in a really tough season. And DM me on Instagram at the Social Butterfly Gal. Tell me your biggest reframe, your biggest breakthrough from today's conversation. And if you're feeling the call to go deeper, to recalibrate your personal brand, leadership, and your visibility, I would love to support you through one-on-one coaching. You can find the coaching information and offers in the links in the show notes below, or you can send me a DM with the word coaching, and I'll personally walk you through what offers are in alignment with your current season and what it looks like to step into this next era with clarity, confidence, and unapologetic authority. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and for all of the shares and reviews. Remember this, you didn't come this far to play safe. You came here to be unapologetically visible. I'll see you next week.